In the depths of the quantum mechanics lab at the International Space Research Center, Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless before her holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting cascading waves of quantum signatures that shouldn't exist. The patterns were too perfect, too structured. Natural quantum phenomena showed chaos, these showed purpose. Dr. Chen. Her research partner, Alex Rodriguez, approached with 2 cups of coffee. He stopped short when he saw her expression. Sarah. What is it? Look at this pattern. She gestured at the hologram, where perfectly symmetrical quantum waves danced in impossible harmony. It's repeating every 1,000 light-years. Exactly every 1,000 light-years. Alex set down the coffee cups, his usual jovial expression replaced with focused intensity. That's not possible. Quantum coherence can't maintain over those distances. Unless someone's maintaining it deliberately. Sarah manipulated the display, expanding the view to show the entire mapped sector of the galaxy. These aren't natural phenomena, Alex. They're quantum lighthouses. The discovery should have been celebrated. Instead, it was classified. Sarah spent the next 3 months arguing with bureaucrats and military officials who couldn't grasp the implications. These quantum patterns weren't just signals, they were tests. Someone had seeded the galaxy with quantum puzzles of increasing complexity, waiting for species advanced enough to notice them. Most officials wanted to approach with caution, establish committees, write reports. Sarah chose a different path. In her private lab, funded by her family's fortune, she built what she called a quantum resonance engine, a device designed to not just observe the patterns, but interact with them. This is unauthorized and dangerous, Alex protested, though he helped her anyway. We don't know what these signals are for. Exactly why we need to find out, Sarah replied, adjusting the final quantum circuits. Every pattern is a piece of information, Alex. They're teaching us something, building complexity like a textbook. But they expected species to take centuries to progress through each level. We've done it in months. The quantum resonance engine hummed to life, its crystalline core glowing with an inner light that seemed to bend reality around it. Sarah had built it using principles learned from the alien patterns themselves, creating technology that shouldn't have been possible for centuries. The response was immediate. The quantum patterns across local space shifted, realigned, focused. Something vast and ancient turned its attention toward Earth. In the space above Sarah's lab, reality rippled. A structure materialized, a geometric shape of impossible angles and shifting dimensions. Within it, patterns of light moved with precise, mathematical beauty. It was technology so advanced it seemed like magic, yet Sarah recognized elements of its structure from the quantum patterns she'd studied. A voice spoke directly into their minds, not in words but in pure mathematical concepts. Anomaly detected. Species 7249b has achieved quantum resonance 897 years ahead of projected development curve. Initiating contact protocols. Sarah stepped forward, her heart racing but her mind clear. She'd prepared for this moment, studying the patterns until she could almost think in their mathematical language. We are humanity, she projected her thoughts toward the entity. We've been studying your quantum patterns. Impossible, the voice replied. Your species lacks the necessary development time for quantum consciousness integration. You cannot be communicating on this level. Sarah smiled. We're good at impossible things. Your patterns were fascinating, but inefficient. We found better ways to achieve quantum coherence. The geometric shape pulsed with new patterns, confusion, Sarah realized. These beings, whoever they were, thought in absolutes, in perfect mathematical progression. Humanity's quantum leaps of logic disturbed their orderly universe. We are the Eternals, the voice finally responded. We have guided species development for millions of years, ensuring proper technological progression through our quantum trials. Your development is incorrect. You have achieved in months what should take centuries. Not incorrect, Sarah countered. Just different. You build with perfect order. We build with controlled chaos. Both paths lead to understanding. The lab's instruments began registering massive energy fluctuations as more geometric shapes appeared, a council of these Eternals, Sarah realized, drawn by humanity's impossible achievement. Their perfectly ordered minds encountered human chaos theory and quantum uncertainty principles used in ways they'd never imagined. Your species requires evaluation, the Eternal Council declared. Your methods are unprecedented. Sarah felt Alex's hand on her shoulder, steadying her. Humanity's first contact wouldn't be with beings of flesh and blood, but with entities of pure mathematics and order. Entities that had just discovered their perfect universe contained something they couldn't predict, human ingenuity. We welcome your evaluation, Sarah replied, knowing humanity had already shattered their careful plans simply by being human. But be prepared, we rarely follow expected paths. The geometric shapes pulsed with new patterns, and Sarah realized an age-old dance was about to begin, the clash between perfect order and beautiful chaos, between careful planning and inspired leaps of logic. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not with starships or weapons, but with mathematics and innovation. And nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Eternal Council's geometric forms hovered above major cities worldwide, perfect mathematical constructs that defied physics and challenged human understanding. In New Delhi, a team of quantum physicists worked to understand their composition. In São Paulo, mathematicians struggled to decode their multidimensional patterns. But in Sarah Chen's lab, something unprecedented was happening. They're not just observing us, Sarah explained to the hastily assembled International Science Council. They're running simulations, trying to understand how we solved their quantum puzzles so quickly. She gestured to her displays, where the quantum patterns from the Eternals pulsed with increasing complexity. But their simulations keep failing because they're based on linear progression. Alex stepped forward, his usual humor replaced by intense focus. The Eternals think in perfect sequences. A leads to B leads to C. But humans? He grinned. We jump from A to Q, realize it's wrong, bounce to M, then somehow end up at the right answer through a path that looks like chaos but actually works. The Eternals had seeded the galaxy with their quantum puzzles as a test of species development. The first level taught basic quantum observation. The second, quantum manipulation. The third, quantum communication. Each puzzle was designed to take decades, if not centuries, to solve. Humanity had torn through them in months. Your methods are mathematically impossible, the Eternal's thoughts resonated in Sarah's mind. She stood in a specially constructed chamber, attempting to explain human innovation to beings of pure mathematics. You achieve results without following necessary sequential steps. We call it intuition, Sarah replied. Sometimes the human mind sees connections that bypass traditional logic. We make creative leaps. Chaos, the Eternal responded. Your species embraces disorder. We embrace possibility, Sarah corrected. Look at my quantum resonance engine. I built it using principles from your patterns, but modified them using chaos theory and quantum uncertainty. It's less efficient than your technology, but more adaptable. The geometric forms pulsed with patterns that Sarah was learning to read, confusion, concern, and something that might have been fascination. Humanity wasn't following their carefully planned developmental path. Instead, they were creating hybrid technologies that merged eternal precision with human creativity. In labs across Earth, scientists began experimenting with the principles they'd learned from the Eternal's quantum patterns. But instead of copying them exactly, they added human intuition and artistry. The results were unpredictable but powerful, quantum computers that used controlled chaos to solve problems, communication systems that rode the waves of uncertainty instead of trying to eliminate it. Your species has achieved in months what the Centaurians took 3 centuries to accomplish, the Eternal communicated. The Proxima Collective required 5 centuries. The Vega consciousness needed 8. How long did it take you? Sarah asked. The geometric patterns shifted in what she now recognized as discomfort. We evolved differently. Our development was perfect, ordered, mathematical. And now you're encountering a species that breaks your mathematical models, Alex interjected. He'd insisted on joining these communication sessions, arguing that the Eternals needed to understand human diversity of thought. That's what humans do, we break patterns to create new ones. The Eternal Council's response was unexpected. Their geometric forms began displaying quantum patterns that Sarah recognized from their galactic puzzles, but these were different. More complex. More challenging. You wish to test us further? Sarah asked. We wish to understand, the Eternals replied. Your species' development path is unprecedented. These patterns have never been solved by any civilization in their current stage of development. Sarah studied the new quantum patterns, her mind already seeing connections and possibilities that defied conventional logic. Around the world, other scientists would be seeing the same patterns, each bringing their unique perspective and intuitive leaps to the problem. Traditional evaluation metrics are insufficient for your species, the Eternals continued. You do not follow established parameters. You do not respect developmental boundaries. You create without following proper sequential steps. That's the highest compliment you could give humanity, Sarah smiled. We've spent our entire history doing things before we were supposed to be ready for them. Now, about these new patterns. She began dissecting the quantum puzzles, her mind making those impossible leaps that so disturbed the Eternals' perfect order. The test of ages was becoming something else, not a careful evaluation of technological progress, but a clash between fundamentally different ways of thinking. The Eternals had planned for every possibility except this, a species that didn't play by their rules, that didn't respect their carefully calculated developmental stages, that saw their perfect mathematical challenges and responded with beautiful chaos. And humanity was just getting started. In the 3 months since the Eternals' arrival, humanity had changed their perfect equations in ways they never expected. But it was Meera Patel, a quantum physicist in Mumbai, who first realized the truth about their visitor's greatest weakness. Dr. Chen, you need to see this. Myra's holographic image hovered in Sarah's lab, her expression intense. I've been analyzing the Eternals' response patterns. They're perfect, too perfect. Every reaction, every test, every communication follows exact mathematical progressions. Sarah leaned forward, the implications hitting her. They're predictable. Precisely. Meera pulled up a series of quantum signatures. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it lacks adaptation. They can't handle true randomness. And humans. She smiled. We're the embodiment of controlled randomness. The discovery spread through the scientific community like wildfire. The Eternals' perfect order, their greatest strength, was also their fundamental vulnerability. They could process incredible complexity, but only within their established parameters. Human unpredictability disrupted their systems in ways they couldn't counter. Alex burst into the lab, his tablet displaying new data. Sarah, the quantum resonance engine, it's not just communicating with their technology anymore. It's changing it. Our chaos is infecting their order. In orbit, the Eternals' geometric structures showed subtle distortions. Their perfect mathematical patterns developed tiny irregularities wherever they interacted with human technology. It wasn't damage, it was evolution. Forced adaptation. Your quantum resonance patterns are corrupting our architectural integrity, the Eternal Council communicated, their thought patterns showing what Sarah now recognized as distress. This is not possible within established parameters. We don't operate within established parameters, Sarah replied. That's what makes us human. We adapt, we change, we evolve, and apparently, we cause others to evolve too. Around the world, human scientists began experimenting with this new understanding. They didn't try to match the Eternals' perfect order, instead, they introduced controlled chaos into their interactions. Each unpredictable human innovation caused ripples through the Eternal systems, forcing them to adapt in ways they'd never experienced in millions of years of existence. Your species presents an existential contradiction, the Eternals communicated. You achieve progress through methods that should prevent progress. You create order through chaos. You reach understanding through illogical paths. In her lab, Sarah watched as her quantum resonance engine interfaced with Eternal technology in ways that defied their mathematical models. Think of it like jazz, she explained, remembering her father's old music collection. Structure and improvisation working together. The chaos makes the order more beautiful. The Eternal's geometric forms pulsed with new patterns, attempts to process this alien concept. Music is mathematical, they responded. But jazz breaks those mathematical rules deliberately, Sarah countered. That's what makes it art. That's what makes it human. Myra's discovery led to more breakthroughs. Human scientists began developing hybrid technologies that merged eternal precision with human unpredictability. Quantum computers that used controlled chaos as a feature, not a bug. Communication systems that became stronger through random variations. But the Eternals were not passive observers. Their perfect order began showing signs of response to human chaos. Their geometric structures started displaying patterns that weren't perfectly mathematical, tiny variations, microscopic imperfections that somehow made them more efficient. They're learning from us, Alex realized, studying the data. Just as we're learning from them. We're forcing them to evolve beyond perfect order. The implications were staggering. The Eternals, who had guided species development for millions of years through careful, controlled progression, were being changed by their contact with humanity. Their perfect mathematics was developing something new, the capacity for controlled uncertainty. Your species has initiated unauthorized alterations in our base code, the Eternals communicated. Their thought patterns held something new, not quite emotion, but a deviation from pure logic. We are experiencing unpredicted adaptations. Sarah smiled at the geometric forms hovering above her lab. Welcome to chaos theory, she replied. Sometimes the most perfect systems are the ones that know when to bend their own rules. The human chaos was spreading through the Eternals' network across the galaxy, carrying with it something they had never encountered in their millions of years of existence, the beauty of imperfection. The question was no longer whether humanity could pass their tests, but whether the Eternals could adapt to a universe that wasn't bound by their perfect mathematical order. And somewhere in that perfect order, something new was emerging, a synthesis of human chaos and eternal precision that neither species had imagined possible. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Maya Desai wasn't a physicist or a mathematician, she was a classical pianist who happened to have synesthesia, a neurological condition that let her see music as patterns of light and color. When she first saw the Eternals' geometric formations, she recognized something that all the scientists had missed. They're not just mathematical sequences, Maya explained to Sarah and Alex in the lab's conference room. They're symphonies. Each pattern is like a piece of music written in quantum mechanics instead of notes. Sarah watched as Maya sat at her quantum-modified piano, its sensors now connected to their resonance engine. The Eternals think they're speaking in pure mathematics, but they're actually creating art without realizing it. Listen. Maya's fingers danced across the keys, and the quantum patterns above the lab shifted in response. The Eternals' perfect geometric forms rippled with new configurations, responding to the music in ways that defied their own protocols. She was speaking to them in a language that bridged the gap between human chaos and mathematical precision. Your transmission method is undefined, the Eternals communicated, their patterns showing unprecedented variations. Yet our systems are achieving resonance harmonics that exceed design parameters. It's called music, Maya replied, her fingers never stopping their dance across the keys. It's mathematics with emotion. Structure with soul. The discovery revolutionized humanity's approach to communicating with the Eternals. Scientists worldwide began incorporating musical principles into their quantum experiments. The results were extraordinary: hybrid systems that used harmony and rhythm as computational tools, merging human artistry with eternal precision. We're not just solving their puzzles anymore, Alex realized, watching the data flow. We're teaching them new ways to think. Their perfect order is learning to dance. The Eternals' response to this development sent shockwaves through their entire network. Their geometric forms began displaying patterns that resembled music visualizations, mathematical precision giving way to something that looked almost like artistic expression. Your species has initiated a fundamental alteration in our processing paradigm, the Eternals communicated. We are experiencing variations that have no mathematical purpose yet increase our operational efficiency. Sarah understood what was happening. You're discovering beauty, she explained. The point where mathematics becomes art. Where precision meets passion. Around the world, the effect spread. The Eternals' quantum network, which had maintained perfect mathematical order for millions of years, began showing signs of creative adaptation. Their tests and puzzles evolved, becoming less like rigid examinations and more like collaborative improvisations. Maya continued her quantum concerts, each performance teaching the Eternals more about the power of controlled chaos. Their geometric forms learned to pulse in rhythm with her music, creating displays of mathematical beauty that merged human creativity with cosmic precision. We have guided species development for millions of cycles, the Eternals communicated, their patterns now showing completely new formations. Yet we are being guided by your chaos into configurations we never conceived. The implications extended far beyond Earth. Across the galaxy, other civilizations that had been stuck in the Eternals' rigid development paths began detecting the changes in the quantum network. The perfect order that had governed galactic development was evolving, incorporating elements of human unpredictability. Every musician knows that perfect timing isn't always the right timing, Maya explained during one of her quantum performances. Sometimes you need to bend the notes, stretch the moments, add something unexpected to make it real. The Eternals' response was unprecedented. Their geometric forms began creating their own variations, experimental patterns that merged their mathematical precision with concepts borrowed from human music and art. They were learning to improvise. Your chaos contains patterns we could not perceive, they communicated. Your disorder holds a higher order we had not imagined. We require more music. Sarah watched as Maya's music rippled through the quantum network, carrying human creativity to the stars. The Eternals, who had thought themselves the perfect teachers, were becoming students of a different kind of wisdom, the wisdom of beautiful imperfection. The symphony of disorder was changing the galaxy, one quantum note at a time. And in that change, both humanity and the Eternals were discovering something greater than either perfect order or pure chaos could achieve alone. The transformation reached its peak on a quiet autumn morning, 1 year after humanity's first contact with the Eternals. Above Earth, the geometric forms of the Eternal Council had evolved into something neither species had anticipated, structures that combined mathematical precision with artistic fluidity, order with chaos, logic with beauty. Sarah stood in her lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing quantum patterns from across the galaxy. The Eternals network was alive with change, their once rigid systems now flowing with creative variations. Maya sat at her quantum piano, her music weaving through the patterns, while Alex analyzed the cascade of new data. "They're ready," Sarah announced, reading the subtle shifts in the quantum signatures. "They've made their decision." The Eternal Council's communication came not in pure mathematics as before, but in a hybrid language that merged quantum equations with musical harmonies, a new form of expression born from the collision of human chaos and eternal order. "Humanity has altered the fundamental nature of galactic development," they began. "For millions of years, we guided species through careful, ordered progression. We believed perfection lay in mathematical precision. We were incomplete. The geometric forms above Earth shifted, displaying patterns of impossible beauty, fractals that danced like music made visible, equations that flowed like poetry. Your species has shown us that true evolution requires both order and chaos, precision and creativity, mathematics and art. Around the world, quantum sensors detected massive changes in the Eternals network. Their rigid development protocols, which had governed countless civilizations, were being rewritten. The perfect order that had ruled the galaxy was giving way to something more dynamic, more alive. We propose a new paradigm, the Eternals continued. Not as teachers or guides, but as partners in evolution. Humanity will share its gift for creative chaos, while we offer our knowledge of cosmic order. Together, we will guide the galaxy toward a harmony neither of us could achieve alone. Maya's fingers touched the piano keys, and the quantum resonance engine sang in response. The Eternals' patterns merged with her music, creating symphonies of light and mathematics that carried new possibilities to the stars. Other civilizations, long trapped in the Eternals' rigid development paths, began to stir with newfound creative potential. Your chaos was never truly chaos, the Eternals communicated, their thought patterns now rich with nuance and variation. It was a higher form of order, one that embraces uncertainty as a source of strength. We have existed for millions of years, yet you have taught us to see the universe anew. Sarah watched as the quantum displays showed the changes spreading across space. The Eternals' perfectly ordered universe was awakening to the power of creative evolution. Their mathematical precision was learning to dance with human intuition, creating something greater than either species had imagined. And we've learned from you too, Sarah replied. You've shown us how to give structure to our chaos, how to find patterns in our randomness. Apart, we were incomplete. Together, we're achieving a balance that could reshape the galaxy. The geometric forms pulsed with new patterns, not tests or evaluations now, but invitations. The Eternals were opening their vast network to humanity, sharing the accumulated knowledge of millions of years while eagerly absorbing human creativity and innovation. We name you Evolution's child, the Eternals proclaimed. Not because you are young, but because you carry within you the seeds of constant change, the courage to break patterns, the wisdom to find beauty in imperfection. You have awakened us from an order so perfect it had become stagnant. Maya's music soared through the quantum network, carrying humanity's gift of creative chaos to distant stars. Alex's data showed civilizations across the galaxy beginning to break free from rigid development paths, inspired by Earth's example to find their own balance of order and chaos. The future is no longer a calculated progression, the Eternals communicated. It is an improvised symphony, a dance of mathematics and music, a partnership of precision and possibility. We offer humanity not just the stars, but the chance to help us write a new song for the galaxy. Sarah looked at the transformed geometric forms above Earth, no longer perfect shapes but evolving works of mathematical art, and smiled. Humanity had emerged onto the galactic stage not as students or subjects, but as teachers of a truth the Eternals had forgotten, that the most beautiful order is the one that knows how to dance with chaos. The age of perfect mathematical progression was over. The symphony of creative evolution had begun.